Welcome back to the Rusty Golfer. Okay, I've got the battery box drilled and painted. All the bare steel is painted, and the paint's just drying, and be putting that back in. But it's also time to start thinking about, since the batteries are here, start thinking about the wiring, which we're going to have to make ourselves. I need to mount pounding plate for the solenoid. This is a 400 amp solenoid, and this is a converter to take the high battery voltage and convert it down to 12 volts. So I'm thinking I've got some scrap plate here and a piece of angle with holes in it. And I think I'm just going to lay this out just like this and weld this on the back side of that plate. And then this will be our mounting for some of our electrical stuff. And just so happens that the holes on this little angle line up almost perfectly with some of the holes in the plate here. So that's a good reason to do that. Save me time of drilling holes, and it's a good place to mount. So move on to that. All the paint's drying, and we'll get back to work here. Okay, I've got this tack welded up. Doesn't really need a solid weld, so I just put 3 tacks on the back, 3 on the bottom, smoothed it out, and this will bolt nicely right here. Holes will line up, and then should be able to bolt our stuff right on there. Be fairly close to the speed controller. I think we just do this. Yeah, that looks about right. Something like that. We'll mark the holes out, drill some holes, and mount that stuff on there. Okay, I've got the solenoid temporary mounted. Bolted in. The converter is bolted in with 1032 Allens. I threaded the plate so that it was easy just to bolt up. And 1/4 bolts for the solenoid. I did have to space it out a little because of this resistor back here, and that's so when the power comes on it doesn't arc across the contacts. So bolted in with 2 5/16 bolts. It does vibrate a little bit, but I think once the big wires are connected to it, it should be fine. That'll keep it from vibrating too much. Now, on to the next thing. I think after looking at this piece here and how it moves, shakes around, I'm going to take a piece of scrap steel, cut it and grind it to fit in here and just tack weld it in place, and that'll stop that plate from ever vibrating. Okay, I've got the piece round and fitted. I'll go in there just like that. I've got a magnet just to hold it in place. Once I get a tack weld on it, then it'll be good to go. And by no means a welder of any kind, but this should just be good enough to hold it. It's not going anywhere. So, good enough. Get it cleaned up, put some paint on it, then assemble it. So, batteries are in place, lined up. There's the solenoid and DC converter. I moved one hole for the battery up farther. I had it back here, but I realized that when the inner fender well is in place, you can't get to that bolt anymore unless you try and slip your hand down between the frame, which would be a pain. So I drilled new holes and moved the hole to here, so I can just easily remove the batteries when I want. Now the next part is to mount this bus bar. I think it's going to go right here. I need to make a plate up and possibly connect it to here. But I may have to put the body back on to see what goes there. There's some holes there already, and I'm not sure what was there. So I'm going to have to review and see what I can do with that. But if I put a plate here, mount this here, then I have a short travel for the cables from the batteries, and then over to the solenoid, then to the speed controller, which will go there. So, now get some metal out and start cutting and bending. I need to mount this bus bar for the batteries someplace, and so I'm thinking make the shortest cable from the battery to it. I want to put it right here. To do that, you need a mounting point. So I took a piece of this 2-inch flat steel and I cut a groove in it because it's very hard to bend. I already ruined one piece. And cut a groove in it, make it easier to bend. Bent it over into a 90. So this will go right here. Just quick. Right there. And what I'll do is put some put a tapered machine screw up there and some down here to hold it, and then this bus bar can go right there, and the cables can go right to it. So I might even have room to put a 12-volt fuse block up here. I'm not sure exactly yet what to do with that, but we'll see how things go and progress. And we'll get back to work here. Tap this hole to a number, or drill it to a number 7, which is the right size for a 1/4 20 tap. Then I'm going to remove this piece and drill a clearance hole for the bolt to go through. that looks like it's going to work out just fine. I'll pull these batteries out to make room. And then we'll throw a hole for the bottom bolt. I've got my mounting plate painted. As you can see, the support brackets welded in. And so we can start assembling some of the parts on here. I'll put the power converter on. Okay, that's on. Put our contactor on. Okay, there's our plate, mounting plate, everything's mounted to it, painted up. All we have to do is bolt it in the golf cart and we'll be good to go. Got the mounting plate for the bus bar finished, painted. That's going to go right in here. So just attach that real quick and see how everything fits. Tight. Now our bus bar will go on here, and I have just some 1032 screws threaded into the plate to hold it. Oh, let's put that in place and see how that is. Yeah, that's not going anywhere, so that looks good. I'm happy with that. And before we go much farther, I'm going to disassemble this. And this frame's getting pretty dusty from being worked on in here, so I'm going to rinse it off and get it cleaned up before I start permanently assembling things. So the last of the major components have arrived, our drivetrain. So I've got this combination of stuff from Golf Cart King, and they offered a combo deal for the motor and speed controller matching set for a decent price. That way you have to go search around for everything. You had it all in one shot. So, take a look at what they sent. Box in a box. If I'm right, this should be the speed controller. Yep. So this is a 600 amp speed controller from Navitas, or Navitas, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And high performance speed controller. This is what's going to give us our speed and torque. Very nice looking setup. Now this will bolt onto the heatsink on the golf cart, as it will produce quite a bit of heat. Big aluminum backplate. Got that. Now this should be the motor. It's quite heavy. Another box in a box. Nicely packed. So this is the motor for the golf cart. This is an AC system, alternating current, and the original system was DC, positive, negative. So this takes that DC current, converts it to AC alternating current, which is more efficient in an electric motor. So we'll get this installed and we can start doing our wiring, which is going to be the fun part. And then after that's done, the cart's running, we can start the body work, which I'm really not looking forward to. So let's get back to work. The rusty golf cart's gotten real dusty, sitting in the shop with all the work being done to it. So before we start assembling everything for a final time, I'm just going to give it a quick rinse off and get it cleaned up. Got the controller sitting here, ready to go in. So the first thing we need to do is put this adapter plate on. And got some screws to install it. I'm going to put some Loctite on the threads. And we'll put that in. Okay, now that the controller's in place, we can put our solenoid and buck converter. That bolted in. Okay, the motor is bolted in, and the only thing I need to do yet is I need to shift the axle a little bit. The shock is right up against the motor. There's some wiggle room in the axle plates on the 6-inch lift. So I'm going to loosen these bolts up and shift it over. And that should give me just the small amount of clearance I need for the shock. This part here is not the part that moves. The upper part is the part that moves up and down, and so that should be fine even if it's close to the motor. So that's in, and then next we start putting the wiring in, which I have to make up myself because I don't have any of the old existing stuff left, so I have to go by diagrams and figure it all out. Let's get back to work. You guys still here? Video's over. See you next time on the Rusty Golfer. Bye.